I mean, I gotta write this IODIS, Captain. This has got to be one of my most frustrating losses. This Zerg all in me at 38 workers. I held like a boss. And I'm at 60 workers. I keep macroing up, getting upgrades and increasing my army while going into the robo while holding all of his pushes. But this guy continues to come back. How can Zerg recover from such a disparity? With his brain-dead composition based off roaches, ravagers and lynx. Not even his transition to lurkers did much, but he would just not die. I'm losing my mind. So please, Captain, roast me. No, wait. I mean, is this Imba or do I suck? This imbalanced complaint form was sent in by Sevriel, a North American Diamond Protoss player at 3200 MMR, asking the simple question, is Zerg imbalanced or do I suck? And we're here to find out. All right, and there we go. Sevriel versus Zeus, his girlfriend. That is a big title to have. And oh, look at that, even has the Z for Zeus on the hatchery there. That's beautiful to see. But we're looking at Sevriel, our Protoss player, who was very certain that Zerg is imbalanced due to some, some worker disparity between the two in favor of the Protoss, yet still losing the game. And that is very rare to see, of course. Protoss players often, when they have high worker counts, will win the game, because if we can build as many units as the Zerg, we're gonna be just fine. Our units tend to be just a little bit better. I'm not sure what this worker is up to. I don't think this worker knows what he's up to either. Now, this guy's a little bit confused. A little bit of back and forth. I love that he wanted to go for a relatively okay timed scout, but because he went back and then back out again, he's actually gonna be entering at such an awkward timing. I still think he'll be in time to respond in case it's a 12 pool though. Okay, you can even scout post gas and it's fine, but yeah, it's tight. It's very tight. Ideally, you want to scout a little bit earlier. Just you can get a read. You can maybe get a faster second gateway in case of some type of 12 pool. You still will be in time to throw down your nexus or to not build your nexus if your scout hits at this point. So it's really not that big of a deal. But always got to be careful with this type of stuff. I'd rather scout early than late. Ooh, builds a nexus as 21 supply. I want to see how he does the rest of this build. So there's two types of openers. You have 19 nexus and 20 nexus. I guess there are three types of openers because Sevriel here went for a 21 nexus. This is not very common in PvZ or in PvT or in PvP because it's not very good. The problem with it is that you want to build your probe ASAP, and then you'd have to build a 22 assimilator, and then you would get supply blocked. Here what he did is he built an assimilator first, then a probe, and then a pilot. That means he actually delayed his probe production a bit, but at least he's not going to get supply blocked. So he's figured out the optimal way to play an inefficient build order, which I kind of like. I always like this type of stuff. And people, they sit there in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to figure out the best build order, and they set on, they're like, all right, 21 supplies when I build my Nexus. And then afterwards they realize that what all the pro gamers do is actually wrong, because pro gamers, they build a probe and then the assimilator. But he's like, no, if I do that, I get supply blocks. So I build the assimilator, then the probe, then the pylon, and life is gonna be just fine. So yeah, it's lovely to see. It's absolutely phenomenal stuff. I'm a huge fan of it. Yeah, bad opener, but still within the realm of what's acceptable as well at this level. Like, this is still, pretty close to a standard 1-gate expand. We have an Oracle that's about to be popping out over here. Poof. Interesting position as well. Usually, when you make a decision on where to put the Stargate, there's really two factors you keep in mind, and that is the visibility to the opponent and the proximity to the opponent's base. So if you build it, for example, over here, it is easy to scout for your opponent, but it's also as close as possible to your opponent's base. If you build it over here, it's kind of far away from your opponent's base, but it's also hard to scout. If you build it over here, it is not very close to your opponent's base, and if there is a second overlord, it is also a free scout. So it is an interesting position, interesting in this context, meaning bad. I don't love this position, but it's not gonna matter. The Oracle pops in, it's gonna get a couple of worker kills, well, a couple. Should get the full 5 or 6 here. I think too often when players get attacked, but there's no spore, and the Oracle is already in position to start fighting drones, you just kind of continue, and you just clear as many drones as you can, and then you fly away. Like doing these weird little type of micros to the top, trying to deny some queen attacks. No, just kill these workers, and then you piss off to the left, which is where the queens aren't. Then you go to the bottom. Flying towards the top means that a queen can come from over here and start hitting you as well. You're actually putting yourself in more danger. I don't think this is the most useful use of your time either. 4 minutes and 32 seconds into the game. Clearing an Overlord using 2 oracles to keep your Stalker safe, while your oracles actually could be dealing some damage. Your opponent had no spores in either base. Your opponent had 4 queens total. One of which is completely out of position to defend anything. That means that there's at least one base which only had a single queen. You could have killed 10 workers here and basically won the game instantly. You're missing a lot of opportunities because you wanted to clear that Overlord this late in the game. I don't mind you clearing an Overlord with the first Oracle, but if you have 2 oracles, you should be on the other side of the map. You should be trying to deal some damage. And you don't necessarily have to succeed, but you should try, okay? Now, right now you're scouting the complete lack of any drones here on this third base. Now, my general rule is that if there are no drones on a third base, theoretically, we don't have to get anything on our own third base either. I like to still add probes somewhat consistently, but you also probably want to start adding a couple of batteries, right? If you are up in workers, then you're up in economy. If you're up in economy, the longer the game goes, the better it's going to get for you. And that means that if you just survive, you're going to be in a great spot. So adding a battery is a completely fine call to make here, in my opinion, as well as maybe adding some gateways. Actually, we already have a lot of gateways. This is neat. I don't love the lack of worker production and the lack of batteries, but what I do love here is the general build order, the sense of knowing what needs to be done, you know? Triple Oracle, Forged Twilight. Yes, it's not the entirely the correct order of things, but it is close enough to the real thing, you know? It's not a bad tracing here of the Mona Lisa. It's a you know, you could still see that it's the Mona Lisa. That's much better than what I could do if I were to actually trace the Mona Lisa. I'm a famously bad artist. Oh, look at this. Oracle actually being microed away. Roaches making their way across the map. This is insane. This is certifiably insane. Look at this. Look at this. So we get some info here. Well, I'm not sure how much info we get, but we should get some info here. We at least get the... Okay, he actually gets the info. Look at this. He sees no workers. This is a conscious scout, okay? He was going to kill some workers, or at least that was maybe his plan. It was like 4 queens. Yeah, whatever. Went in for the scout, sees no workers, and now is sad. He's like, oh, this is weird. No workers. What should I do then? There's no workers to kill at the third. Let me move out with my Stalker so I can clear the queens. No, this is not the answer. The answer is he has no workers at the third. You have 12 workers at the third. We're building 7 cannons and 5 batteries at this point. The only way we're losing this game is if we die to a push. It's like you should not be moving out. Everything should be coming back home. Like, this is insane. This is a complete misread of the situation. Like the absolute opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're sitting in your castle and you're seeing the opponent is coming to attack. You don't leave your castle, you fortify. That is what you do. It is very simple. Like, you don't even need to read the Art of War for this. Like, people can kind of feel this instinctually. You know, we don't need a war intellect to tell us that. Nice move command as well. Still gonna clean this up, no problem whatsoever, because we just have a lot of units, and the build that we played actually was remotely similar to what high-level players do. We're in a good spot right now. Would love for these oracles to turn off rather than wasting all of their energy, but that is life, I guess. I would also love seeing some tech switch. Why not? I love it. I'm a big fan of this. I really am a big fan of this. Get a revelation here on the rocks as well as on 3 of these creep tumors. Overlord is gonna get knocked out. Can we get gases? Also, like, I'm really nitpicking on small things here, but they don't really matter. The only thing that matters is that this guy doesn't accidentally get a stroke. Like, if I were to pick right now for several in his life, whether I would want him to get faster gases or to start eating a little bit less fat, you know, and just a better diet overall, I think I'd pick the better diet. Like, the chance of him losing because of missing a gas is much smaller than the chance of him losing because he gets a stroke or some type of cardiovascular disease. Like, it is really difficult to not win from this position. But he's gonna try. How? I'm not sure yet. Well, this is a good start. Adding a couple of stalkers at this point. Stalkers are useful in 2 situations against Zerg. No, that's not true. But there's 2 main situations in which they're useful. They're useful in like 4 or 5, but let's pick the 2 main ones. One, when you're defending roach-based pushes. When you're defending roach-based pushes, they're very freaking useful. Even against link-based pushes, they can be very useful. They can be in between stuff. They're quite powerful. They're good. They're also very good when you have a bit of momentum and your opponent doesn't have enough units to deal with your initial Stalker ball. Stalkers can then trade very efficiently because they can blink back. Like, if you have a winning fight with Stalkers, that fight often snowballs in your direction because you can save all your blink Stalkers and it's hard for the opponent to kind of get to the back line of the Stalkers to take them out. However, once you're not putting on pressure anymore, you don't want to be warping in any more Stalkers whatsoever. They're very gas heavy. They cost 50 gas every single time you build one. Like, make the calculation in your head. Would you rather have 2 Stalkers or an Immortal in a straight up engagement? The answer always is an Immortal, unless your opponent has an army consisting of pure Brood Lords or Mutas or something. But otherwise, always Immortal, Immortal, Immortal. So, no more of these Stalkers. Immortals, I'm a very big fan of. We're going to get 2 more. We're going to get a Templar Archives. We're going to get a Robobay as well. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we see Zeus's girlfriend going for, what do we have here? 14 roaches, 10 more on the way. A lot of drones have been rebuilt. We have some serious long distance mining going on here as well. +2 is about 75% done. We're going for an attack on a 5th base that doesn't exist yet, but he can look into the future and he knew it was about to be taken. I think this should still be a very good fight here for Sevrio. I actually don't understand how he's going to lose this. It's not great micro on the Zealots. The Zealots are having a mind of their own. He just lost like... I wonder if this was a losing fight actually. Was it? This was, right? Absolutely. Resources lost is 4k to 3100. Hatchery doesn't get cancelled, so that's going to be 300. How many Zealots did he have in the army? Like 9 or 10? Like, this was really bad micro. This is why you always have to be so careful with Zealots, and I often don't mind if people don't have Zealots in their composition. The reason why I don't mind if people don't have Zealots in their composition is because then they can just use them as run-bys. Like, you still want to build Zealots, but just as run-bys. Yeah, I guess it's a fine fight. It should have been much better. I think he probably also could have killed his opponent. I don't mind him not chasing though. I think it's very scary to chase Zergs on creep, especially at lower level, because sometimes all of a sudden like 1,000 units pop out and you lose the game. I understand that, I really do. What I don't understand though is the lack here that we're seeing of any type of splash in this army. Colossus, I don't mind. But then we shouldn't be this far out on the map, I think. This is also, once again, just a really basic thing, in my opinion, that goes wrong so often, and it surprises me. So we're gonna have a quick look at this fight. Zealots in the back, not really participating, not tanking for these Immortals. Immortals actually the first one getting caught, which is not great. Despite their name, they can die. You see 2 fall instantly. I think the Ravager count is actually too big as well. We see +2 on those Ravagers, +2 on this army. If there was any amount of extra links here, this would be an extremely one-sided fight. And actually, this already was kind of an extremely one-sided fight. This is very good for the Zerg. Yeah, what I was gonna say about the Colossus is that everyone kind of instinctually should know that if you're investing this many minerals and this much gas into something, that you should probably wait for that unit. Especially if it's a unit that is this big as well, you know? Usually big units are better in StarCraft. It's like, you can just feel it's like, you were building 2 Colossus and Thermal Lens. You also had +3 on the way. It's like we're talking more than like 1,200, 1,300 resources in investments and a lot of gas, which is, you know, it's a big thing. And you just didn't use them in what is actually so far the main fight of the game, the biggest fight of the game. You kind of got wiped in that fight. It's like, that shouldn't come as a surprise. Now we have the Colossus out, we have the Thermal Lens, we're going back into Immortals. I don't mind it, I would love to see Storm. I remember seeing a Templar Archives here at some point being added in. Storm is just such a huge tool against both Lynx and Ravagers, just eats them alive. I mean, Colossus do a fine job as well. Lynx now are entering the natural. Fast Zealot Warpin though is going to be just fine. So despite a very poor fight here up north, Sevriel, or Sevriel, is actually in a pretty playable position. He's going to lose a lot of workers in the main. I think he lost about 12, 13 workers total. But all of this is going to get cleaned up. There's a small problem right now for Sevriel, is that Zeus hasn't been macroing. And as a result, has a lot of minerals and gas in the bank. So if Larva ever hit the pitch, it is going to be quite hard for a Protoss player. But this actually should also just be a winning fight, no? If you have any type of reinforcements here, like 6, 7 Zealots, this should be winning. So maybe even without. Immortals went back already, rest of the army was still fighting. Like right now, I just want any units in my army. If we're going for a straight up engagement like this, why does he keep walking away with half his army out of the fight? Zealot Runby comes in, angrily staring down this extractor. Oh, there we go. Roach pops, accidentally pulls one of these forward. Loses the Zealots into the main army. This is not quite how you want to micro your run-bys. I feel like he's so undecisive as what he wants to do. It's like there's no objective. He's kind of just standing there seeing what happens. It's like doing a form of meditation while playing, you know? You see what comes at you. You don't judge it. You just take it as it is. It's like, well, that's not really how StarCraft is supposed to be played. Gave his opponent like 45 extra seconds. Managed to destroy this army with pure Roach Hydra. Has finally some Templar at home though, but we don't have Storm quite yet on the way. This is a really, really bad fight. Complete lack of spellcasters, but the main issue being just that you didn't reinforce your main army for like a minute, and your opponent does reinforce their main army, and then their army is going to be bigger. Like, once again, it's just misunderstanding like when your peak is. Your peak is when you hit. Unless you have reinforcement ability with a Prism, then your peak is whenever your new Warpin is. But if you don't do that, you want to fight as fast as possible. So once again, it's going to be a good fight. It's like every single time someone moves out, they just lose a fight. One could think about maybe not moving out instantly then when the situation is good, because it seems to worsen every time. He built 2 Archons out of these 4 Templar. I don't mind that in this particular situation, but I really would suggest still getting the Storm. We also have 6 Zealots still in the main base. We have a bunch of units in the natural. All of these could be added into the main army. 25 Hydras now hit the field. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Zeus's girlfriend has been floating a lot of cash this entire time. Now finally has the larva available. And we see a lot of it being used. 15 Ravagers is insanity. The Ravager has a relatively limited shelf life. And right now it is well past expiration date, let me tell you. Well past expiration date. So this army, despite being kind of valuable in the gas and kind of valuable in the minerals, it's actually hot crap. If you have any type of decent splash, whether that is a relatively high Colossus count or any amount of storms, you're going to eat this army up alive. Look at this. This is an army with not a whole lot of HP. 120 on the Ravager, 90 on the Hydralisks. The Lynx have about 35. Yeah, they're not even gonna survive for 3 seconds in a storm. Instead of getting splash units though, we're continuing to get these kind of, like these straight shooters, these big fighters in a fat engagement. Which, once again, I think Immortals are very good to have, but adding just a little bit of splash would do so much for you here. So much. This is an army that is consisting solely of glass cannons. It's just, this guy managed to assemble. This is like the Avengers of glass cannons, okay? This is in this entire force. There's 1 lurker, 2 lurkers. I love that he mentioned a lurker transition that didn't do a whole lot. I wonder why that is. Probably because there's only 2. But yeah, no crap is not gonna do a whole lot. There's 2. Like, no matter how good they are, it's a huge army. And this should be an absolute stomp as well. Ooh. Gonna go for an interesting maneuver here. He's gonna go in with half of his army on the left side first, then pulls that half back. Now it's gonna resynchronize it. Fort base is gonna end up falling, so that is frustrating. So now you're putting yourself in a bit more of an all-in position. If you had a little bit of map vision, a little bit of map control, you could have seen it coming and maybe done something about it. Now, you're actually not just in a little bit of trouble, I think you're in a serious amount of trouble. This is the first time in this game where I think Zeus's girlfriend could potentially be ahead. If he were to macro accurately and spend all of this cash in the next 10 seconds, I think actually Sevriel would be in trouble. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. We have DTs now coming in. This is a very good call. I think at this type of level, DTs can so often be game changers. Just sending 1 or 2 to a base, clear some of these drones, one over here, boom. Absolutely banging. I love that stuff. It's getting so much damage done as well. 12 lurkers are now coming in. They don't have any upgrades, by the way. This is still all on lair tech. So these guys are going to have 8 range rather than the 10 range after the seismic spine completes. On top of that, we're going to find these lurkers while they're being morphed. Do a little bit of damage on them. Okay, gonna attack into this. Now, because of this range advantage, there's a huge trick. Actually, there's a massive trick that the mainstream media won't tell you about. You won't hear about this on Loco's channel or on Winter's channel, okay? But here, you know, we get in the nitty-gritty details. If you have a lurker with 8 range and you have a Colossus after thermal lance with 9 range, and you do the math on that, you realize that the Colossus is capable of shooting at the lurker while the lurker cannot shoot at the Colossus. This means that in a fight, what you can do is just select the Colossus and attack the lurkers, and he won't be capable of doing anything. This is a trick that the Zerg scientists don't want you to hear about, okay? I've been advertising this for years now on many different adult content sites, but no one seems to understand it. Maybe it's because I make people confirm with their credit card number before they get to the important part, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe something wrong with my marketing there. This was a god-awful fight. It's still almost a winning fight, but this was legit god-awful. He walked into all of his lurkers. Is this what he called clear? What did he say? What did he say? Not even his transitions to lurkers did much. You have no army left. This is like a hurricane eating your house. Like you're standing in front of like just a flattened house. There's like rubble behind you and you go, the hurricane? What hurricane? There's nothing to me. What? I'm fine. My house. Build it myself. Look, it's doing great. It's like you have nothing left. It's like 5 Archons, 2 Immortals, and 3 Zealots. If the other guy ever finds any of his hotkeys to build units, you're freaking dead. You're freaking dead. Just walk through all of those lurkers that only had 8 range. I don't know how you do that. Well, I do know how you do it, but not a huge fan of that. Some nice long distance mining. It's also, this is an advanced move as well. Despite having a new base coming up with a nexus, he's now going for long distance mining on a base without a nexus. It's an interesting maneuver. Experts are still debating on whether this is worth it. Me, personally, not entirely sure. You know, on the one hand, you have safety, proximity to your main army, and a higher income. And on the other hand, you have physical exercise for your probes, which is also fun and should not be underestimated in the context of a StarCraft 2 game. 2 more observers showing up here in case the lurker transition happens again. This guy went back to pure Roach, which I find very high tier in and by itself. Zealots are going to be chasing a little bit. We have more Templar coming in right now. Sadly, Storm still hasn't been researched. Another thing you could do, so if you realize that for the past 5 hours you've been trying to catch these roaches and you can't, you could try getting force fields to ploof behind those roaches so that your army can actually fight them. You can also continue building more Zealots and Archons to chase the roaches while they kite. That is also fair. This is actually a good move by the Zerg. It is going to get spotted here by this observer. This is a very good move. This is legit an advanced move. Splitting off your army and hitting at a place where there is nothing for the TOS. TOS is going to full recall, almost full recall. It's gonna send the rest of the army back home. This is actually very nice multitasking. Pulls his opponent out of position, pulls back, and then just goes in and tries and kills some bases. This is legit pretty good control, especially for this level. I'm impressed by this. That was a very neat move. Still gonna lose all of those roaches in the end, or at least a bunch of them. Actually, no, he's microing them. Look at that. We're getting some splits out of both players. Oh, this is nice. Zerk is doing a better job, though. Basically, everything died on the right side. There's not enough tanking in front of the Immortals. 2/2 roaches do pack a little bit of a punch. Wow. I'm honestly impressed here by the Zerk. I feel like I haven't seen that many good moves in this game. But this was a good move. Like, this... What the hell? I feel like his brother just took over or something. No? Have we seen any... I guess we saw a link split at some point. But this was legit. Just pulled his roaches apart. This APM starts spiking. No, he's been the same APM. It's like someone whispered in his ear. It's like, you can do 2 things at the same time. He's like, what? Where's that voice coming from? And I guess, all right. You did this well. Like, you just got outplayed, bro. What the hell? How is this imbalanced? This guy is beating your Immortal Archon Zealot army with pure roach just by running around and tricking you into taking bad fights. Before this, I still think your position is fine. You're up 6 workers. You have a new mining base that's banging. You have a base going up over here that's banging too. Your opponent is on like half a mining base here, like 1/3 of a mining base here, 1/3 of a mining base here. Like, you're absolutely out mining. 2k to 1300. Like, you're winning. You're winning. Now, there is another trick, once again, a secret trick that you won't hear about in the mainstream media. But if you subscribe to my premium course for only 999 euros a month subscription service, I will give you this tip. But I'll give you this one for free. But there's more tips like this in my course, which you can buy. If your opponent only has units that shoot to the ground, you can build units that fly. There's a second layer. Flying units, we call them. Void Ray, Oracles, Carrier. He only has roaches. 1 Void Ray could kill infinite roaches given infinite time. It also makes it easy to deal with this type of split-offs. You just stick a Void Ray on it, and then eventually you warp like some zealots, you deal with it. You can keep your entire army in one control group. You never have to worry about it again, my dear friend. But yeah, this is wild. I'm so surprised how well this went for the Zerg. As in how well he executed it. Look at this. Clears a bunch of zealots here. These zealots, they charge in. This Archon charges in. These Immortals are on move command initially. Then the roaches actually get microed and get right on top of the Immortals. This was beautiful execution. Like, what else do you want me to say? I freaking love this. Then comes in with the links to reinforce on the left side. This was legit. Like, you just got outplayed. You just don't know what it looks like because you've probably never seen it before at your level. It's like, what the hell is that? It's like magic. You know, it's like the first time when Jesus did the water to wine. Like, whoa, you know, that's sick. You know, and then the folks that were around him, after a while, they realized that they're not as impressed anymore, you know. But that feels imbalanced. The first time you see it, whoa, that's crazy imbalanced. You can just do that. I guess that's a pretty imba move too. But, you know, you catch my point. For you, this was new because it was a very good move, which doesn't happen at your level very often. So your mind is blown. You're sitting there, whoa, that's crazy. And I had the same reaction here. It's like, whoa, this guy started multitasking all of a sudden. Hasn't done it all game. Maybe the first time in his life, you know. It accidentally just started happening. This guy had like a eureka moment in the middle of a game. It's very rare to happen. We saw it happen here live. And he just outplayed you. In like a minute. He just, poof, completely wiped you off the face of the earth. There's nothing you could do about it because he was just better. He just owned you. And it happened during the game. This guy just improved during the game. Freaking sick. First time I've seen this in my life. Fat shout out to that Zerg. What the hell? Not imbalanced though. This guy beat you with roaches while you had Immortals. You're not allowed to complain. My dear friend, you had a bazooka. This guy came at you with a stick while blindfolded and you lost. He's much more skilled than you are. I'm sorry to tell you. That's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. Yeah, you suck. I forgot to say that you suck. That's for me. You suck. You suck. It's not imbalanced. All right. That is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this phenomenal episode of IODIS. If you did, and you think you have a replay that is truly imbalanced, you're like, Harstem, this guy, nothing compared to what I just lived through, okay? Real imbalance. Send it over, okay? We show everything over here. Everything, okay? Don't trust the other big StarCraft 2 YouTube channels. YouTube.com/@Harstem. That's where it really happens. Be sure to subscribe. Okay, love you all. Bye-bye.